Today, we have to skip the intro and get right into what's important because it's been weighing on me and Tuck. The growing season is half over, and maybe some of you are getting a bit discouraged because your garden isn't going as well as you planned it, or maybe you're not harvesting as much as you hoped you would. Maybe you're thinking like, should I just quit, or is this even worth it? Me and Tuck are here to tell you that it is worth it. You cannot quit just yet because one of the greatest things that a gardener has, tools, is experience. You have to give yourself the opportunity to gain some experience so you can profit off of it in the future. Everything in nature and gardening is exponential. Nothing is linear. For instance, if you have a plant that's a weed growing in your garden and you allow that to go to seed, that's not just going to go to seed and produce one more plant that's a weed. It's going to produce 20, 30, 40, 50 seed. Those are going to spread, and then all of a sudden you're going to have a lot of weeds everywhere. That same thing works for you on the other side. If you gain some knowledge, that knowledge doesn't grow linear, it grows exponentially, which will lead to bigger harvest exponentially in the future. There is no such thing as a mistake in the garden as long as you have the right perspective. Every mistake carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. It's a lesson. Sometimes you have to put your hand over the fire and get burned in order to learn that lesson, but once you do, it can make all the difference. Just finding one thing out, maybe something like learning to use BT on your brassicas. That one thing can just make a major difference in your garden that re-encourages you and keeps you going. It's all about sowing. Without sowing, there's no growing. And it's all about taking action in the garden. Winners never quit, and quitters never win. There is no way to actually fail unless you quit. Now is the time to take some action, to dig in and get some things done. Like I mentioned in the beginning, the growing season is half over. But that also means we still have half left. If your garden is looking so bad that you don't feel like there's much you can do, get your journal out, write down everything that went wrong. This way, that can guide you in the future on what mistakes not to make. So much about gardening is improving your odds and getting ahead of things before they happen. So if you're a first-year gardener, you can't expect too much out of it. You can't get too stuck in the moment that you're in right now. Even me, there's a lot of stuff ready to harvest maybe, but if I get too focused on just what's happening right now, I'm gonna miss out on fall and next year and 2 to 3 years after that. So fruit trees are great to have in the garden because they give you a more perennial perspective. They let you think outside of what's happening just today. It's all about investing. It's all about looking towards the future because we can make the future much brighter as long as we make those investments today. Let's take some action. So today I'm going to show you some ways you can take action today. They start with getting some seeds planted for your fall garden. Let's move over and do some other things we can do today that will make a difference in the future. It's a bit of a cloudy day today, and because of that, there's not a lot of bees out. So something we can do today to take action that will help improve our garden harvest is to get out here and hand pollinate some of our squash. What we're going to do is, I see a squash right here. This is the male flower. It doesn't have a squash at the end of it. I'm going to prune out this male flower, peel back the sides until we get this right here, which we're going to use to pollinate our female flower. If the bees aren't out here to do it, let's get out here and do it ourselves. Let's move over to a female flower right here on this little baby squash. See it right here? It's got the squash at the end of it. The flower hasn't opened yet, but we're going to pop this top off, get down there and pollinate it ourselves, just like this. So what we're going to be doing is guaranteeing ourselves some more squash. What we want to do is increase our chances of harvests. This is going to basically guarantee it. Little wins like this make major differences, especially when you're first starting as a gardener. So maybe some of your tomatoes and stuff didn't do well, but if you can get your squash to do well, that'll encourage you to keep growing because it's just, everything in the garden is like a domino effect. Come this way. Some other stuff we can do to improve our odds, increase our harvests, and make sure that we're taking action in the garden, because that's what it's all about. The more you're out here, the better things will be because you'll learn more, you'll gain more experience, and then again, you can profit off of that in the future. So when it comes to our cucumbers, if you've got some healthy cucumber plants, you can't just be happy with the cucumbers on there. What we need to do is go out there and harvest them before they start to ripen. If you allow one cucumber to fully ripen on the vine, the whole vine will quit producing. So we harvest this cucumber here, and you'll look, even more flowers are being produced and more cucumbers in the future. So that's really important to make sure we stay on top of these little things. But this is the kind of knowledge and experience that really allows you to grow so much more food. This is one of the reasons me and Tuck make videos. Not only to show you some little tips and tricks and stuff to make sure you're getting the most out of the things that you're growing, but also to encourage you and to show you kind of like the promise of what any of you can have, as long as you're willing to pay the price and invest some time, some effort, and not quit. The last thing you ever want to do is quit, because once you quit, it's over. There's no such thing as a mistake or a failure until you quit, because they're all just lessons that will lead you to bigger harvests in the future. Let me take you over here to the basil as well. The idea is to do as much as we can right now, because everything accumulates. A few of these little wins will accumulate into many wins, and then all of a sudden you're surrounded by fruit in a forest, picking things left and right. Just this bed is loaded. So when it comes to your basil, what you want to do is once they start to flower, you want to prune the basil, the flowering parts out, and just like other things in gardening, when you cut one thing out, 2 more heads appear. So it's like you cut 4 heads out, you get 8, and then all of a sudden things start multiplying exponentially, and you just have nature work for you. There's basically 2 rivers. There's one where everything's flowing away from you, and then there's one where everything's flowing to you. What you need to do is hop onto the side of the river where everything is flowing to you, and then all of a sudden you're working with nature. It's your companion, and instead of fighting against it, you're working with it. And if there are some issues, you're ahead of those because you've learned from either making mistakes yourselves or learning from other people's experiences. Looks like the little boss needs a little snack. This cucumber might be a little big for him. He usually likes them when they're a little bit smaller. You can crack a piece for him from this one. Here you go, boyo. That's a little better so he can snack on it easily. If you guys love seeing Tuck in the videos, make sure to spam some hearts down low. He's a great motivator for us in the garden. He's something that encourages me to get out here because we love to be able to provide Tuck with organic, homegrown, natural food that he can snack on, that he can get a lot out of. And we both have just such a blast being out here. Another thing we love about our perennials is they're always teaching us lessons. For instance, a fruit tree. There's a kind of saying that goes along with it. It goes, first they sleep, then they creep, then they leap, and then they fruit. So I see a lot of the similarities in gardening. The first year you garden, it's like your garden is almost sleeping. You don't get much out of it. The second year, all of a sudden you're getting more things. The third year, you've got the expansive growth, and the fourth year is when the harvests really start coming in heavy. So it's worth the time to invest. I remember when my first garden, I mean, it was a sad excuse for a garden, but we got lucky enough that some of the peppers actually did well, and just that one thing was enough to for me to see and be like, this is there's hope here, there's opportunity here, and that was enough to not make me quit. So me and Tuck want to make these videos like this because we don't want you guys to give up. You have to take the chance and the opportunity. Something big that made a major difference for us too is I kind of learned from reading other books and stuff that the major reason that my garden didn't do well was because of me. I was the major reason for the failure. Once I realized that, at first it can be a bit demoralizing, but then when you think about it a little bit, it's actually extremely encouraging because the only thing that I can change is myself. So if I can change myself, then I can improve the garden. So it kind of allowed me to take ownership and remotivated me to say, you know what? I could build the most beautiful garden in the world if I want. I just got to take action, take ownership, and then keep sowing. You can't grow if you don't sow. Check out this wall of tomatoes. Look how many tomatoes are on here, close to being ripe, and some are ripe right now. I remember the first year when I started growing, I don't think I got any tomatoes. Now, I have too many tomatoes that I know what to do with. Anyone can do this as long as you stick with it. It's just like growing. Everything happens a little bit at a time. Every year you make some slight improvements, little tweaks here and there. They make major differences. Bill Mollison and Jeff Lawton talk about how sometimes all you got to do is just find that one door. You open one door and it changes your perspective on everything. Once you open that one door, you realize that there's so many other doors that you haven't even opened, things that you can learn that can improve your garden and that can improve your overall life. There is nothing like eating fresh organic tomatoes right from the vine, homegrown, and you have this insane level of appreciation and almost kind of like pride that comes from it. When you plant the seed, you watch it grow, you guide it, and then you're allowed to go out there and get that fresh harvest right off the vine, not even have to wash it, just incredible nutrient dense food. It's one of the reasons you should never quit because you have to have this opportunity. There's absolutely nothing like it. Let's move over to another section. And I want to give you a little bit of an overview of the backyard. Some of you may have been here 4 years ago when this was just a little patch of grass. Then we decided to expand the food forest over to here, and Now there's just so much food back here. Come over here. Me and Tuck wanted to give you a little quote that we love so much, and it's that excuses are just well-planned lies. If your excuse is that you don't have enough space to grow a garden, then that's just a well-planned lie. That's no excuse. Right here, we have all this food growing in just a small tote. And anyone could have this in their backyard, on their balcony, and you could be growing some of your own food. Let's harvest one of the squash from over here. Look at the size of this thing. So this squash is the Costata Romanesco, one of my favorite varieties. And we're getting this production just out of this small tote. Look at the cucumbers over here, growing too. One thing you'll notice though is that some of these leaves are starting to yellow, like this here. Look at the zucchini leaf. This is starting to yellow because it's lacking some nutrition. So whenever your plants, something like a squash, which is a heavy feeder, starts to get into production, you can't just get obsessed and get stuck on, oh man, this is fruiting, that's fantastic, let's just let it go. When it's taking so much nutrition out, you need to give a little bit back and stay on top of it. This way it can produce all the way up until the frost. So what we're gonna do is just add some fertilizer. We're gonna take some of this fertilizer, add it to some homemade soil, just like this, mix it in, just like that, mix it all up. Then we're gonna top dress this plant. So we're gonna give it the level of nutrition that it needs to keep up its production. This way we can get the most out of the plants that we already have. Little tips, little tricks like this make big differences. Like we talked about earlier, everything accumulates. Everything comes together, especially in the garden. So anything we can do to improve our odds is huge. Let's top dress around these plants, around this zucchini right here. We're gonna do the same thing around this cucumber back here because it's in production also. We're back over here, and our pepper here. It's got some nice little cute peppers on it. Let's top dress that. It's a great thing. You can go out to your garden, take action right now. Anything that's growing well, you could top dress. If you don't have anything growing, you still have time to get some cucumbers planted, some quick producing varieties. Maybe get a summer squash in, or just get focused on your fall garden, get that stuff planted and get more things growing so you can increase your odds of getting harvest, because you can never expect a harvest if you don't plant anything. Let's grab some mulch. It's also a great time to add some mulch to the garden, especially when the heat comes. This is going to improve your garden, but it's also going to make it so you don't have to water as much. So this mulch I just make myself. I collect leaves in the fall from the neighbors when they're throwing them out, and then we just dice up these leaves in the lawnmower and then use it as a fantastic mulch around all of our plants. Free, accessible, works fantastic. That's today's video, growers. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you got something out of it. Looks like our state bird, the eastern goldfinch, came out to just say that it enjoyed the video, and me and Tuck felt like it was an important time to make this video. It's a little different than some of our other videos. Usually our videos are either focused on like a lot of information to provide you with the tools, the skills, and the knowledge to be able to grow more food, or sometimes they're more about just showing you the harvest to, again, show you guys that promise if you're willing to pay the price. This video was more about trying to motivate and encourage you to continue growing. Let's move over here. Our main goal, me and Tuck out here, is to get as many people growing their own food. We don't want you to try just one year though. We want it to become like a lifelong thing, because we feel like there's so many incredible blessings that we got from it, and we want to share all those opportunities and the great things that come from it with everybody else. It's more than just growing your own food. It's more than just eating organic food. There's like an indescribable level to it that we can't say with words. It can't be described. The only way to do it is to get out there to grow your own food yourself. And it's like Bill Mollison says, the only way to truly get organic food is to grow it yourself, and you'll be so happy that you did. We had an absolute blast out here, me and Tuck. The little boss is inside. As the sun came out, it's just crazy muggy out here, super hot, and we know that can be discouraging too. So it just seemed like the time of year where it just felt almost like quitting time. But once you feel like it's time to quit, there's a good chance that you're only 3 feet from gold. You gotta dig in, you gotta keep growing, you gotta keep just pushing ahead, because sometimes you gotta walk through the fire in order to get to the paradise. And you can have your own paradise in your backyard. Me and Tuck wanted to mention to check out the merch down at jamesprigioni.com. Grab a grow shirt, grab a Gardening is Life shirt, and be part of the team. We also wanted to send a thank you to one of our new channel members, Linda H. Thanks for being a part of Team Grow. Thanks for having your hand in everything we're doing out here. If you guys want to be part of the team, just hit the join now button down low, and or you could just watch and hopefully get some value out of this, and hopefully we motivate you to get back in the garden, to keep growing, and to never give up, because you'll be happy that you just stuck with it. We know we are. James and Tuck will be back to you again real soon. We